Well, I guess we'll start off with telling everybody how much I appreciate everybody watching. We've released 4 videos now. We've had really good response, a lot of comments. Don't know if there's hardly been any negative comments. Everybody has kind of voiced their opinion on what they want to see and asking about some different things, what goes on here, more about the cars, anything else. So we're going to expand on that a little bit. Everybody seems to want to know about the Chevy II. Well, we've kind of been putting it off. Planning on bringing it up. We're going to do some stuff today on it and probably knock this into a 2 or 3 part video of different things. But that car was built back in, well, I bought it back in '88. Long story, but a friend of mine, Ron Ball, and I, when I lived in Colby, Kansas, went to LA to pick up a car that he had purchased back before the internet. He found it in Hemmings Motor News, and funny thing to be known, it belonged to Gary Stinnett, and he couldn't sell it around here in Emporia, so he had shipped it out to his dad in Vegas, or in LA. So as we're on our way out to LA to get this thing in January of '88, there is a blue 66 Chevy II sitting on the side of the road in Guymon, Oklahoma. And we stopped, looked at it, about 4 inches of snow on the ground. It was a back half car, no motor, no trans, anything else. So anyway, went on out to LA, picked up the car that he'd bought, turned around, came back, stopped again at Guymon on the way back through. I put a deposit down on it, and the end of January 1988, then I owned my Chevy II. So it was blue, back half, nothing special, ladder bar, slider car, leaf spring slider car, so nothing special. And proceeded as that. I wanted to put a big block in it, so modified the shock towers, did all that. That first year, I've got video of that car from Great Bend, Kansas, back in 1989, running with a big block Doug Nash 5-speed dialed on an 1180 in Great Bend. So everybody says, yeah, I had a car like that, but it's not like that. Well, that one hasn't been that way since it was new either. So the car's got a lot of history. Went ahead and painted it then the following year. The guys that did the body work on it, friends of mine out in Colby, kept asking me what color I wanted to paint it, and I kept telling them I was going to paint it pink, and finally came down to the day before it was to get painted, and the running joke was, you know, what color are you going to paint it? And I said, I'm going to paint it Panther pink, the original Chrysler color. And so we did. He told me he wasn't even going to shoot the thing that color. I said, well, either he was going to shoot it or I was going to shoot it and tell everybody else that he did. So anyhow, we painted it pink. It was all solid one color, not any stripes, anything else. I ran it then from 1990 till 94, I guess it was. I cut it up, working for Rod Meek race cars in Topeka, and I cut the back half out of it and made it a tube chassis car. What I want to say, through the early 90s, Musey, Christian, Moran, all those guys were running fastest street car stuff. What I built really didn't fall into anything, nor did I have the kind of power to keep up with those guys. So once again, that car, when I bought it originally, was just more of a release, something to go jump in, go drive, have some fun with. We went ahead and once again, cut the back half out of it, cut the whole car out, set it up for a big block with the Nash still, ran it like that. Let's see, 94 and 90, gosh, gotta think, 90, somewhere in there, 94, 5, 6, I also put a blower on it and started off with just a 671 on it. When I lived in Topeka and worked over there, the car Pat Tiefert had a yellow 57 Chevy back then, and had I think a 572 with 2.4s on it and nitrous. And so it was a race to see who could have the first street car in Topeka into the eights. So we both got there about the same time. I think I went 896 with my Chevy II, and kept going with that. Ended up moved over here to Kansas City, started my own deal, Larson race cars here, and then the car just kept evolving. It went from having a 671 on it to then I built a 555 and put an 871 on it. Took the Doug Nash 5-speed out of it. Started out with a street 5-speed, ended up with a race 5-speed. Then I put a Lenco in it, and I believe it was 98. Put a EFI on it, all somewhere between 97 and 2000, all that occurred. I wanted something that I could run 890s at 150 on pump gas, any day of the week, which is what we ended up with. The guys from BDS, Blower Drive Systems, laughed at me at the time. He says, I told him what I wanted the 1 year at PRI, and he just laughed. He says, yeah, you and everybody else. So the following year, after I'd done it, I went back and told him, and he was pretty shocked that we accomplished what we set out to do. But so we ran it like that for a while, repainted it again in 96, I guess it was. Still pink again with some graphics on it. But then the car stayed just pretty much like it was, with a 1471 on it, EFI, with the Lenco, and I just drove the thing. And once again, it had run in the eights at 150, 155. On pump gas, run 830s, 840s. If I'd turn the blower up and put it on C16. 2005, along comes Hot Rod Drag Week. So a friend of mine, I didn't know anything about it. He asked me if I was going to go do this thing that Hot Rod was doing, and I said, "What are you talking about?" So he explained it to me. I went and bought a magazine once again and started looking and reading and registered for it. And lo and behold, it actually started out here in Kansas City. The first year was kind of odd because it started off here. It did not end where you started out. We ran Kansas City, St. Louis, Bowling Green, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and finished up in Martin, Michigan at US 131. So it was a little odd. We had to figure out how to get our cars back home. So you ended up with some people following around, taking trailers, not so much following you with parts or anything, because nobody was that smart, I guess, back then, or that devious back then. That first year, I think there was 41 of us involved. Nobody knew what to expect. I had drove my car quite a bit, but in that configuration, probably 100 miles at a time. Back when it was a back half naturally aspirated car, I'd driven it 300 miles at a time, driven it to Denver from western Kansas and back up there for a division race. But in that configuration with the blower and a Lenco on it, 100 miles is about as far as I'd went at one time. So we took off that day, went to St. Louis, made it there. David Freiberger, that was the editor for Hot Rod at the time, made it plenty clear that they were giving away nitrous, but they wouldn't sell race fuel at the racetrack. So I decided to run this thing on pump gas all week long, make one hit. If it'd go 8 anything, 9 O's, then we would jump in, pack our stuff, and go, because nobody knew what this was going to be like, how the week would end, how much everything would get tore up. So we made it to Martin, Michigan on Friday, really with not a lot of problems. I think I put a set of clutch discs in it, was all, and got up there, it rained. Got to be good friends with Brian Loans and Chad Reynolds that week. Chad was actually driving a car. Brian was there on Friday to do some filming, I think for Competition Plus at the time, and loaded Brian up after it quit raining and they were drying the track. Loaded Brian up, took him out on the interstate and buzzed him up to about $1.60 with a video camera in his hand and scared the crap out of him. So made a lot of good friends that week. Finished third overall, ran low ET top speed of the week, but had a great time, and that was part of the drag week lore, as where it all began with 41 of us that year. Carl Scott won it. Phil Scott came in second, or Phil Cooper, I should say, came in second with his Chevy II. So all three cars that finished first, second, third that year were all 66 or 7 Chevy IIs. But so that's kind of the beginnings of it. Runs it up to, in its current configuration, up to 2005. We heard an engine right before 2006 drag week, didn't get a go. 2007 we went, finished second to Denny Terzik's car, which was a Pro Charger car. So 2008 came around, they had changed the SFI stipulation for the chassis spec. So at that point in time, it was, if we wanted to, or if I wanted to keep driving that car and it needed to go faster than 850, I was going to have to put a funny car cage in it. It had been 808 that way with the blower on it, and I had been helping Mike Moran at the time with his turbocharged stuff. So Mike had been just beating me up over putting turbos on it. So it was either slow the thing down, make it run 850 and slower with the blower on it, or completely change the whole car, upgrade it up to a 25 2-spec where it could go 6.0s or 650s and run that thing and put turbos on it. So bailed in again, jumped off in the deep end of the pool, put turbos on it, changed the whole configuration again, put struts on it because it was originally an A-arm car, and ran this thing as a turbo car in '08. That was the start of the run that year. We don't even remember what our average was, but we ran it as a turbo car in '08, and we won drag week in '08, '09, 10, 11, and 12, which was the last year I drove the Chevy II in drag week. And since that point in time, I think I'd taken on Rocky Mountain Race Week in 2016. But other than that, just been driving it, racing it some, doing some exhibition stuff with it, and we'll see what this next year brings. Like I said, I'm going to get it together this winter, and for right now, that's what we're gonna go and try and get things back together. So when the snow melts off, we got something to go play with.